2 weeks from now, the North Carolina Tar Heels will be playing another basketball team. 2 weeks from now, what do they got to do to get ready?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, joined by our guy, not Coach Pat Kilby, even though it is Wednesday. It's Coach Bill Robinson, the head coach of the Milligan University Buffaloes and a 2-decade veteran of the Carolina Basketball School. We had a little switcheroo this week. Coach Rob with me today. Coach Pack will be with us tomorrow. And you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Really appreciate you making us your first listen or watch of the day. And we want to send a special shout out to the everydayers joining us, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord members, and of course our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Welcome in, everyone. It's going to be a great show. Let's get after it. It's brought to you today by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Coming up on the show today, we're going to have a really interesting conversation. Yes, this is the Wednesday show. Coach and I are recording on Tuesday night, and as we record, it is 2 weeks to the day until Carolina goes to Memphis to play the Tigers in a charity exhibition, so we're going to get ready for that a little bit, just talking about the preparation from now until then. And we are going to have, since it's October, our very first What If Wednesday in the lead up to the school year. We've had some great questions submitted from our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. I've put a few in as well. And so we'll see what comes out of my trusty handy dandy bucket today. And Coach and I will give you some answers. Just a couple quick things before we get into talking Memphis. Number one, we've been talking about this a whole bunch. Our guy, Coach, if you're unaware, has recently published this great book, Carolina Basketball School History, Stories, and Drills. If you don't have a copy, you need to pick up your very own copy of it. You can buy it on Amazon. You can email Coach directly, wdrobinson@milligan.edu, and you can purchase one directly from him there. He'll even sign that bad boy for you, ship it off to you. It's October. We are just 2 months away from Christmas, so this will make a great Christmas present for all the Duke fans in your life. Make sure you get that to them. Coach, I don't think there's anybody better. By the way, I'm sure, folks, that you are all aware how Appalachia has been affected by the storms and the flooding and everything. In Johnson City, in Elizabethton, where Coach lives, is not immune to that at all. And so thankfully, Coach and his family are well and fine. He told me, well, you can speak for yourself, but that they lost water for a little bit and the internet still is a little bit spotty. So if Coach is in and out a little bit, that's why. And I think we all understand that. Now, the other thing is, Coach, before we get to the Memphis conversation, you got to have a really fun conversation earlier today. And I wondered if you would just share with everyone what you got to do and what we can be looking forward to.
Yeah, I got invited by Adam Lucas and Jones Angel to just tape a little something about the book for one of their episodes. Not sure exactly when it's going to come on. Adam told me probably be in the next 2 weeks or so, but just being able to talk about the book with guys. Of course, Jones has been in Montrose camp with his kids and been a part of it. And Adam was really the first person I talked to about this idea. I wanted to talk to somebody in the business who had written books and knew Carolina basketball probably better than anybody. And the encouragement I got from Adam was really a step forward. I think if he had said no, I don't think people would like that. I probably would have just dropped the whole idea, but it was just a great opportunity for me to talk to those guys and just share some stories, even more about the book that maybe not stuff that was actually in the book, but more stories about Carolina basketball camp.
That's so fun. And man, I know you've shared so many of those great stories with us, but cannot wait to listen to that interview when it comes out. And I know you did a great job, Coach, and excited for more people to get to hear about the book and hopefully some great orders come rolling in. That's awesome. Okay. Let's turn our attention to 2 weeks from now, which is Tuesday, October 15th, where Carolina is traveling to Memphis, Tennessee, to the FedEx Forum where Memphis plays, where they will play Memphis in a charity exhibition game to support. Proceeds will go, I almost said Shriners Hospital, to St. Jude's Hospital there in the Memphis area. That game is actually going to be televised on ESPNU, folks. That night, I will do a live reaction show right after that, and that'll be a lot of fun. Cannot wait for that. But, Coach, here's what I want to ask you, man. because when you get to where it's like you're counting down the weeks like this, it gets very real all of a sudden. And then you say, all right, fellas, what's our timeline? What do we have to have in place? Not by November 4th when the regular season kicks off. What do we got to be ready with 2 weeks from tonight when we play another basketball team, not just our own guys day in and day out? So, Coach, just at a big picture level, what has to happen between now and then to get ready to go play at FedEx Forum?
Yeah, those last 2 weeks are interesting because you're already put in the majority of your offense defensive concepts and their philosophies and all those type of things. The last 2 weeks for us, we're checking off boxes. Have we covered everything? Do we have something against the zone? Do we have a 3 second left and we're at the free throw line and we got one shot, we're down 2. Do we have a play to be able to get a rebound off a miss? What's that one out of bounds play that we need to, all those situational things is what we're working on late. Even something it's simple, but how you want the bench to act. We actually, the last 2 weeks, this is how you should act on the bench. This is how you go in for a game. This is how you go out for a game. It's not, just making sure you know how to go in the game. Obviously, everybody's been doing that their whole life, but there's a certain way you want your guys coming in and coming out of games, how they communicate, how do you, or react, body language, all those different things coming off the floor. I want my guys to smack my hand, whether they like me at that point or not. And chances are, if they're coming out mad, I'm probably madder at them than they are at me, but I'm still going to smack their hand. So there's little things like that you want to make sure you cover in those last 2 weeks. Don't think they're going to show the whole, their cards when they play Memphis. I think they'll still run stuff. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see them run, things that maybe that you won't see again the rest of the year. I don't think they're going to show their hand, but I do think they want to go out there and play the pace. I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see a different pace. And if they want to play fast, I think you'll see that right away.
So, Coach, if I can put it in terms I often think of in my head, we're expecting very vanilla on this evening, not much chocolate or Neapolitan, or what's your favorite ice cream, Coach?
It's chocolate chip cookie dough. That's my go-to.
That's my wife's favorite. All right, so we're not going to get any chocolate chip cookie dough that night. That makes me very sad. I might need to go get some right after this. I think Dairy Queen has BOGO Blizzards right now. That might be the play. So, Coach, and I'm so glad you went there, because that's actually a question I wanted to ask you about this is, I think we all expect Carolina to play a good bit differently this year with, a lot more perimeter-oriented offense. So, and things like that, and different way, we've speculated on maybe some different defensive wrinkles. Are those the types of things you're thinking that we might not see yet in this scrimmage or exhibition, excuse me?
I don't see the full court pressure. I don't see if they're going to trap or, in a half court or pressure or do anything, even zones. I mean, we've talked about that. I don't think you're going to see any of that. You're not going to see RJ playing 35 minutes. And this is a game, again, we want to win every game we play, but this is not something that you have to win. This might be a type of game where they script minutes. We've done that in the past for early season exhibition games or scrimmages where we just say, okay, everybody's going to play this set amount of minutes. Because what's most important right now is to see, especially those freshmen, those young guys, we want to see them on the court playing against good college competition. We just want minutes. We want to be able to get stuff that we can watch on film the rest of the week and say, okay, here are things you did well. Here are things you did poorly. Here's the things we've got to do to get better. So if I'm coaching, that's what I'm more interested in is getting guys who I want to know more about. I want to get minutes from them so we can get them on film.
So then, because one of the things I feel like we're often like we've waited all off season. We're still smarting from that Alabama loss in the Sweet 16. And so, Coach, I think the tendency, and I'm guilty of this myself, is to rush to judgment and conclusions based on one game, one small sample size of this. And given that Carolina probably won't be playing, as you said, it'll be pretty vanilla, given probably minutes restrictions and not typical rotations. What would you encourage people to say, like, here are things that you can take away from this experience, and here are things that I would caution you not to try to take away from this?
Yeah, I'm not looking at team execution. Chemistry is different than execution. I think that's what I'm looking for. How was the chemistry? How was the body language? Did they share the basketball? Did they make the extra pass? Were they willing to help and recover? Were they willing to get on the floor and just play hard? Those are the things that I'm looking for. I'm not sitting there saying, man, they really executed. that play or this play so well, and they're really running the system well. I'm looking to see just more of the effort, more of the attitude. Hubert's still going to win. Let's be honest. He's as competitive as anybody that I know. He's still going to want to win that game, and I think he'll be mad if they don't. But he understands that this is a new team. It's a new situation. We may talk about the Alabama game. I don't think he's worried about the Alabama game. It's a new year. It's a new start, and everything's fresh. And I think he just wants to see them go out and play hard.
Now, one of the wrinkles of this, Coach, is that 2 days before this matchup at Memphis, Carolina is scheduled to have a blue-white scrimmage in Cherokee, North Carolina at Harrah's. This is not right in Asheville, which we know was critically affected. The latest understanding I had, Asheville is literally only accessible by air right now, which is just devastating. And Cherokee, though, is out away from Asheville. I think most people would have to go through Asheville if they were going to make it there. And so, Coach, I would expect that something's going to have to change with this, because I don't see any way that in 12 days from now, Carolina is going to be able to make it to Cherokee and play a game there. And so, Coach, any thought on, like, if you were in this position, what you would be doing to try to make some adjustments here?
Yeah, the interstate between Asheville and Knoxville has been wiped out in one section. Any fans coming from the Tennessee area, it double the time or maybe triple the time it gets to get there to Cherokee. I just think it's insensitive with everything that's going on in Asheville to actually have something of this magnitude at this time. I think it's just probably the wrong timing. I think they'll still do it. I think they'll do it somewhere else. But Asheville's really been devastated, and I have a lot of former players and friends that are still over there. And of course, Porky Spencer, somebody we've talked about a lot in the book, having played for Coach Williams. He lives in that Swannanoa area, and I checked on him. And again, because of internet being it's spotty, it's hard to get anything from him. But he finally got my message, and he said you wouldn't even recognize it, is what he said. So the photos, the videos are just they're devastating, and I think it would be more considerate not to have that game at least out there at this time.
I think that's very wise words from you, Coach. We've done some reaching out just to see, like, hey, is there a plan in the works right now? And it sounds like from sources that there isn't a specific plan B as of yet. But I would imagine, Coach, given that this is less than 2 weeks away, we would probably hear something sooner rather than later about adjustments, especially because that is a ticketed event that people are going to show up to. And so I wouldn't be surprised in any way if we see some adjustments to that, especially knowing the sensitivity with which Hubert Davis would want to approach something like that, very much in the vein that you're speaking of, Coach. All right. Sorry, go ahead, Coach. It looks like you're going to say something else.
Exactly. They understand the impact that the region has right now, and I think they're going to be very sensitive to anything that they do, and they don't want anybody to look at them and say, "Hey, you guys are not understanding what's really going on here." So I would expect them to do something, but it's going to be a long time before Asheville recovers from what happened.
Man. And I even wondered earlier today, Coach, and we don't need to get down this rabbit trail, but I know there's the charity exhibition at Memphis, but I wonder if the NCAA would allow this blue and white scrimmage to have some sort of charity angle on it that could go to support, just something local there in North Carolina. And I wouldn't be surprised if that turns up as well. All right, folks, we do want to get to our very first What If Wednesday of this lead up to the season. This is fun, where we have several scenarios posed ahead of the season, what if statements and questions. And so Coach and I are going to pull one out, or rather I am. We're going to evaluate it, and then we'll keep on moving, and then we'll have two of those that we're going to do today. Going to be a lot of fun. I always look forward to What If Wednesdays so much. So we'll get to the first one coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time, you guys know the drill, man. Going to live events is the absolute best, whether it's music or theater or comedy, or now that we're back into the fall and we got college athletics again, football's ongoing. As we were just talking about, basketball is so close to being here. And I don't know about you all, but I'm looking forward to making some new memories this college sports season. I guess I don't have specific plans to make it east to the Dean Dome yet for this upcoming season, but man, I need to get that going and figure out a time to get there. Well, great news. When you're buying your tickets for this year, Game Time has a new feature for you called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Pix filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on the best seats, so you don't have to go waste time searching through it all to find what you want. So whether it's game time ticket coverage, the lowest price guarantee, or the panoramic views from your seat in the app, Game Time has got you covered. How about Carolina's football game this upcoming weekend? The Tar Heels hosting undefeated Pitt. Cheap tickets as cheap as $30. I looked it up, section 220, row L. And as always, there's great seats literally right on Carolina's sideline, right behind the bench. I found them for as cheap as $50 each. So go check this out and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. Happy What If Wednesday, gang. I've got several questions coming in here from our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. If you're not a Locked On Tar Heels insider and you want to go deeper with Locked On Tar Heels, chat directly with me, get access to all my stats and data and charts and record books and all that, man, join Locked On Tar Heels insiders at the link that you can find in the show notes. So, Coach, let me pull out our first one. I'll read it for us, and then we'll answer it. All right. First What If Wednesday of the season. Here we go. What if, here we go. Okay. What if, Coach, Cade Tyson struggles playing the 4, but Drake Powell shows he can play it? Do we start Drake Powell at the 4? And so, Coach, this comes from Locked On Tar Heels insider Edward Inslee. Thank you, Edward, for this question. And I think, Coach, we have to assume in this scenario that Cade Tyson is the starting 4. We've talked about different starting lineups. So again, what if Cade Tyson struggles playing the 4, but Drake shows he can play it? Do we start him at the 4? Coach, kick us off. What are your thoughts?
I think that spot's still wide open, and I think it's going to be competitive on a daily basis. And Cade's, I mean, let's be honest, he's pure shooter, and everybody knows that the modern game, you need guys who can just make threes, and he's very, very important to the success this year. But if he does struggle making shots, it's not like he's a lockdown defender, then you just still need him on the floor. It's a little different than Cormac's situation, where when Cormac, wasn't shooting the ball well, he still did other things to help the team win. Those other things that he did are the things that Drake does well. And I think it would be a very smooth transition to see Drake Powell move over into that starting position.
How comforting to you is that as a head coach? Like, hey, I've got this guy that last year had the second best 3-point percentage in all of Division I of qualifying shooters. And I'm expecting him to come out and keep doing that because he shot over 40% in each year of college so far. But if he doesn't, I've got the Swiss Army knife of all Swiss Army knives on my roster right behind him. Sure, he's a freshman, but he's playing at a very high level already. For you as a head coach, what sort of comfort is that versatility and depth?
It's great. It's great to have depth. You have to have depth at least 2 deep at every position. In Cade's situation, even if he doesn't shoot it well early, they're going to continue to give him minutes. He's proven that he can shoot it at a high level with a ton of attempts. So it's one of those things where you got to keep throwing him out there. He may not start, and maybe that'd be better for him. Maybe he would relax a little bit and just go play rather than having to have his name announced at the beginning of the game. And some guys react differently to that. So I honestly I don't think Drake cares. I think he just wants to play. I think he doesn't care where he plays. I don't think he cares if he starts. He knows he's going to play. He's going to play a lot. And, if he doesn't start, I don't think it's the end of the world. But I do think Cade's got to shoot it and shoot it well early, just to kind of show people that he is that quality shooter that can carry a team at times. And when he does that, it's going to bring just a huge benefit for Elliot and for RJ and for Seth to be able to get into the lane, because they're just not going to be able to help off him. I think that's why it's so important. Not so much that he makes shots. Yeah, that's important, but also making people stay honest with him so those other guys can get into the lane.
Because the flip of this is, if Cade is doing what he's done through college, which is the more likely of the 2 scenarios, even with the jump from Belmont to Carolina, a shooter's a shooter, baby, and you're going to make shots, especially with his positional height, as typically playing the 3. But if he is on along with RJ, I mean, goodness gracious, what that opens up for everyone else, including each other, Coach, that just completely raises the ceiling of what this team could be, right?
It's terrifying. If I'm an opposing coach, I would just be absolutely terrified. The shooting momentum is so much just like hitting in baseball. And if you got one guy who's just making shots, it just makes it easier for the other guy to make shots. So when they can play off each other, then all of a sudden everything starts to flow and the offense just explodes. But I think that's why it's important to get a great start. RJ's going to make shots. He's going to have people face guarding him. They're going to need that second guy to be able to make some threes. And we're all hoping that it's Cade.
And let me go. It's so funny that you made the baseball analogy because I almost went to the baseball analogy on the negative side. And here's what I mean, coach. I grew up as a baseball player. We all go through slumps. But one of the things I love about, folks, I'm a big Braves fan. We talk about it all the time. Brian Snitker, the Braves manager, is loyal almost to a fault with the player. Last year at the beginning of the season, Marcell Ozuna was in a terrible slump. And then, literally was like, is he just done? Is his career over? And then by the end of the season, he was one of the best hitters on the entire team because his coach knew that the law of averages was going to come back around and eventually he'd find his stroke. It seems like with shooters, it's very similar. Like even if Cade doesn't get off to a hot start, his prior history suggests he's going to find it eventually. So coach, if he does get off to the slow start that this what if suggests, how do you go about whether it's his psyche or sticking with him, just trying to figure out the balance of shooting his way out of it versus like it's detrimental because it's not going in and we got to get somebody else in there. How do you handle that balance?
Hubert and I have actually talked about this once. You're just talking about shooters and the mentality, and that he would actually go into practice and say, okay, I know you've been struggling. You have to take 10 threes today. I don't care when it is, but in the games, we're going to play for 40 minutes tonight in practice. You've got to take at least 10 threes and showing that encouragement. So the guys know that as that ball's coming to me and I'm catching it, coach wants me to shoot that. He wants me to make that. That's huge for the mental, the psyche, as you talk about, for a shooter to know, first of all, I don't care what anybody else says. My head coach wants me to shoot that shot. That's huge. And to constantly, and what I'd like to do is use the phrase next one. Because you see guys miss a shot and they kind of go down the court and you can tell it's bothering them. And I'll just yell out during practice, next one. They know it's over. It doesn't matter. And I'll say, hey, what'd you do with your last shot? Oh, I missed it. No, I don't want, you don't know. You don't remember what you did the last shot. The next one. Just focus on the next one. And I think that's really important for players to know that they're in. It's different with the assistants when the head coach has confidence in you and wants you to shoot the basketball. I have a local friend of mine who's a head coach at the high school level, and he has a thing where he goes, yes, sir. As the as the guy is catching the ball, you'll hear him yell, yes, sir. And he's just letting that kid know as he's catching the ball that coach wants him to shoot that basketball. And it makes a big difference.
And so does that mean if coach doesn't say yes, sir, I better holster that bad boy and keep the rock moving? No, that's good, coach. I love.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. All right, folks, we got one more What If Wednesday question to get to. We'll pull one more out of the bucket here and see what the mighty bucket has in store for us coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. We've been keeping tabs on the FanDuel's conference regular season odds, and the ACC odds are out now. And unfortunately, the Dukies lead the way at +170. Then's Carolina at +350. It falls off a cliff after that down to Wake Forest at +850. Miami at +1,200. Louisville and Clemson both at +1,400. And Virginia at +1,600. So if you want to get in on any of that action, get Carolina while they're still #2 in these odds before they inevitably overtake the Blue Devils in January or whenever the odds makers wisen up, then you will have gotten that at a good deal. Check it all out at FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Coach. One more What If Wednesday today. I'm rubbing the magic genie. We're gonna see what comes out of it. Let me circle around in here and see what we got. All right. Oh, this one is actually one of the ones I put in today. This one says this: what if there's someone on this team we're forgetting to talk about enough? So, Coach, what I mean by this is, are there any players that it's like we're talking so much about, I don't know, RJ, but when we do, we're forgetting player X? Who would that be for you, and why?
I've got two, but one I think we really have missed on. We haven't talked about Jalen Williams a lot. We've talked about him some, but my guy, I think that's just under the radar right now is Ven-Allen Lubin, and
Mm,
here's why. Um, he's played at the high level. He's played in a great conference. His stats are solid. You wouldn't say they're all American stats, but they're really good. And not much has been said about him because he got to camp, when we got to see him play, and he really wasn't in the flow, and he's not really a pickup guy. He's more of a system guy, and
yeah,
more
that's
of
right.
just being around the basketball and making things happen. He's got great hands. He's not a throw the ball in the post 10 times a game and let him make these great, dream shake moves. That's not him, but he's going to get you second, third shots. He's going to be around the ball all the time, and he's just going to bring you just that defensive muscle and a presence in the post. And I think he's somebody we have not talked about enough, and I think he could have a huge impact for the Heels this year.
That's a great one, Coach. I love that choice. Um, for me, I'm going to go to the backcourt, and this is somebody we talk about more. But I think because of the other heralded people around him, I don't think we're talking about him enough. And so that's the way I'm going to frame it. And that's Seth Trimble, because I think a lot of it is obviously you have your starting backcourt back in RJ Davis and in Elliot Cadeau. But then also because of anytime there's anything new, whether it's in sports or Christmas morning or the Easter Bunny brought me this beautiful bed of candy that I get to eat on fake grass, that's what we're excited about and what we love. And I say that to say we're and rightly so, all probably quite enamored, thank you very much, with Ian Jackson and Drake Powell. But in so doing, our guy Seth Trimble, I feel like, falls through the cracks a little bit. And some of that is, I think, the fact of him entering the transfer portal and coming back, because I think in some people's minds, maybe they missed that he came back, or is like, why did Seth Trimble? There's just all of that. But Seth Trimble is going to have a massive role on this team. He is going to play a crud ton of minutes. I'm thinking 20 to 25 minutes a game for Seth. The way the leap that he took last year into his sophomore year, Coach, I thought was really, really impressive. Someone who, we didn't know for his shot, but in limited sample size was really efficient with his shooting, particularly from outside. But continued to be the athlete and the defender. It was very obvious. Those couple games he missed injured, Carolina lost one, at least I think the Clemson loss was maybe one that he missed. I can't remember which one specifically, but I remember saying in the live postcast after that game, if Seth Trimble is in this game, Carolina wins it. And so I just want to make sure, and this was something I realized when I thought of this what if scenario, that I don't think we're talking enough about Seth Trimble and the role he will play on this team. Coach, any thoughts or response to that?
Yeah, two things about Seth. I got a chance to talk about him in Adam and Jones's segment today. He was in my station at Montrose Camp, the defensive station, and just what a great guy. And there are times when dads have two kids and, they're doing a one-on-one drill or whatever, and there's a kid just standing there, and I could just say, hey, Seth, come get him, and he would. And now the kid's playing one-on-one against Seth, trying to play one-on-one against Seth. And he just treated it such a great way, and he was very energetic, enthusiastic, but also very kind to these kids. The other thing about Seth is if Carolina wants to play fast the way we all think they're going to play fast, it just plays into his strengths. So I agree. He's going to have a huge role. The faster they play, the more he's going to want to have Seth on the floor and defensively, offensively, in an open floor game. I think he could just be fantastic.
All right, Seth last year jumped from 9.8 minutes a game up to 17.1 last year. And again, as I said, I expect to see him closer to that 20 range this year, and I think that'll be great. Coach, thank you for those insights there, both on the personality and the on-court stuff with Seth. So that's going to be really exciting to see how his athleticism and speed and skill overtakes the game. And I'm also reminded of, now that we're talking about it, that shift he made mentally last season where he was struggling to, like, he would get midair and not have decided yet how to finish and just missed a couple of those. But once he flipped his paradigm on how he was doing that, man, it took off. And so I expect to just see some highlight reel things from him this season. All right, gang, what a fun show. Getting into our what ifs, thinking ahead to 2 weeks from now, or 2 weeks from yesterday, as you're listening to or watching this, when Carolina will be playing on ESPNU. Yes, mid-October, you get to watch the Tar Heels against another D1 basketball team. One of the things that the NCAA finally got right in our lifetime. We are very grateful for that. If you have not already subscribed to the show on video and audio, make sure you do that so that you don't miss a second of what we're chatting about. If you have not joined the Locked on Tar Heels Discord, the link is in the show notes for that. And again, it's free to join. I said it earlier, but I'd love to have you be one of our brand new Locked on Tar Heels insiders. And that's for the people who want to go really deep with this show, be connected personally to me where we can text back and forth one-on-one, and you can have access to all my stats and data and record books, get priority for things like What If Wednesday. And there goes one of our What If Wednesdays. I'll get that back in, and mailbag questions and all sorts of stuff like that. I also share, when I get insider information, I share that ahead of time with our Locked on Tar Heels insiders. All right, gang, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.